public. It is plain to many in the community that the district has created an illusion over what is really going on with 100% positivity. The district speaks only of the wonderful things that is occurring in the district and scoff at any constructive and or negative criticism. The district has confused members of the public and the kids. Here are a few examples. The district states that all staff will get back to parents within 24 hours. This is not true. The district states for kids to take pictures and videos of others behaving badly and being a snitch will help the schools. Just last month, a robocall said that they were videoing, that those that were videoing were behaving badly. Should they snitch or not? The word snitch is also very third gradish. I expect more professional language coming from educators and leaders of the district. The district says you can come, complain, or voice your concern to the superintendent. Then the superintendent says start at the bottom. Which one is it? These are mixed messages that frustrates the public. It used to be that the public felt retaliated against from board members. Now it's coming from the top administration. The district still has major issues with confidentiality. That right there alone makes me not want to express my feelings towards the district. The district paints a picture of everything is perfect. The district does not address negativity well, if at all. We are liars, complainers, with nothing better to do, or our kids are bad and therefore we are bad too. The district puts out in the public and in the paper that they want parent participation. But when a parent gives constructive criticism, we are the problem. We have become numb to the fact that our children are being educated at and not past their potential. The major problem has never been the sweat of the hardworking teachers and staff at the bottom. We now feel as if it's just a course of doing business. I believe someone from the district stated, it's not our job to educate our students for the future. We're trying to get them graduated. Our goal is to graduate them. My wife's business model is very similar to the following. Whenever you're attempting to see how well your product is, you should go to the toughest audience. The district hasn't done any personal confidential surveys to my knowledge, ever. We feel as if the district doesn't care about its closest stakeholders. The superintendent meet and greet and town hall are all a show. Parents' feelings don't matter. All parents aren't included in committees because they are handpicked by top administration. If you want the truth, ask us. The ones personally invested in KISD. Don't even get me started about our feelings about our class of 82. There are other graduating classes and how the football program has been handled. I believe the district is oblivious to what is really going on and is being covered up. If parents get banned for cursing, coaches should face consequences as well for colorful language towards students. Special population is in need of an outside audit. And please update your website.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. All right, we move now to item number 6, which is communication from administrators. 6A is the superintendent's update, which will be presented by Dr. Pettis, and we'll be discussing the District of Innovation Overview, the DOI. PowerPoint presentation can be found on page 3 through 16 in your packet. And the DOI exemption trends from the local districts can be found on page 17 of your packet. Dr. Pettis.
Yes, this is just going to be an overview of what District of Innovation is. We're not taking any steps or any action yet. All we're doing is looking at what is a District of Innovation. For the first time in a few years, KISD is now eligible to apply to be a District of Innovation. So I figured I'd bring you the information, the overview, and then we can determine if it's something that we would want to, I guess, pursue the next step according, and our attorney will make sure that we're following the correct steps. So if we go to the next slide, it gives you the definition of what is a District of Innovation. And back in 2015, HB 1842 was passed. In part, it was amended Chapter 12 of the Texas Education Code to create districts of innovation, which gives traditional independent school districts most of the flexibility available to Texas open enrollment charter schools. So some charters, what charter schools are eligible for, this allows now traditional public schools the ability to get, you know, some of these exemptions as well. If you look at the next page, it says, so some considerations, what educational opportunities does KISD hope to achieve through researching and possibly adopting a DOI plan? And what are the benefits to exemptions, researching or adopting? So these are some considerations, is why are we even looking at this? To see if you have any educational opportunities that we might be able to get out of this, or any exemptions that might be able to help our district. So here are some potential benefits of becoming a district of innovation. After researching what other districts are doing, you get more local control. So districts decide which flexibility exemptions best suits their local needs. They could customize it. So districts can create an innovation plan for any level of school. So it doesn't have to be the entire district. It can be, you know, just a single campus, or it can be the entire district. Autonomy gives districts a little bit more autonomy. They must submit a district of innovation plan to the Commissioner of Education, but approval is not required by the commissioner. It's really determined according to the board. So some flexibilities include examples such as school start date. Right now, we are not allowed to start school before the last Monday of August. And so this is something we could consider if we just determine to go that route. The length of the school day is also something that we could have flexibility on. The 90% attendance rule, educator certifications, and there's several other possibilities. So these are just some examples. So if you go to the next slide, I'm giving you an example of, okay, like, what does that mean for a uniform school start date? Currently, Texas does not allow, what I just mentioned, to start before the 4th Monday of August. But by starting earlier, some districts start earlier, they start sooner, and you may have noticed that several school districts started like the first week in August. The district could create a calendar where the semesters are balanced with equal number of days while still completing the first semester in December. Right now, we're kind of crunching a whole semester in, you know, right up to the end of December, the very, very beginning of January. And so if we started earlier, we could have, you know, a few more days, so that way the semester could be balanced with the next semester. We could be aligned with junior colleges and universities for our early college students with their dual credits. This will support students applying to college to have semester grades in early January. This example will align districts with many K through 12 schools throughout the state. Another example, minimum minutes of instruction and school day length. So currently the Texas code requires 180 days of school, or at least 75,600 minutes. So let's say we wanted for the flexibility to allow increased or flexibility with those minutes. We could have increased professional development and collaboration opportunities. So some of those days could actually be used for PD. District would be able to offer early start times or late release times to better meet the needs of students. So we could look at various calendars throughout the state of other districts, you know, that might be beneficial for us or not. We could just look at them. This would not reduce any duty-free minutes for lunch, and would not reduce any teacher's daily minimum 45-minute planning period. So I want to make sure that we're clear on that. If we were to pursue or looking at and start looking at becoming a district of innovation, this has nothing to do with reducing any of the 30-minute lunch that's required, duty-free lunch, and also the 45-minute planning period. So I know there may be some misconception out there, but if you look at any district of innovation plan throughout the state, you'll find that this is not something that's allowable. So there's no way that we would even go there. Next example is teacher certification. As we know, there's a teacher shortage in the state of Texas and the nation. And so many districts have adopted this one. Currently, Texas code requires all teachers to hold a teaching certificate issued by the State Board of Education. With the expansion of CTE and STEM, it is difficult to find qualified teachers that hold teaching certificates and have expertise in these fields. This is especially true in health science, computer science, agricultural science. A district would be able to attract and retain teachers in these hard to fill positions. But this will not include any changes in certification requirements like for teachers who are special education or bilingual. That is not an allowable exemption, okay? So when we're talking about STEM, we're talking about science, technology, engineering, math. If you look at the next page, we did a side-by-side to make sure, kind of give you some facts about what is a DOI and what is a DOI not. And to make sure that we're very clear on some facts about what it is not. So that way we make sure the public is clear on that. If we decide to do or pursue getting a committee to look at a DOI, we would have a public hearing, a public meeting. And so this is definitely something we would post and share to make sure we're clear about these things. So a lot of these things were the things, it would not pursue reduction of teacher benefits. It would not increase the maximum class size. It would not affect teacher contracts or salaries. So we just need to make sure that we're clear on what is it not. So that way there's no misinformation out there. If you look at the next page, it's just more examples about what it is not. Like what it is not, it's not about allowing school districts to take away duty-free lunch or planning periods. In fact, our district, we even give PLC time, so we are not interested in taking any of that away, and we're not even allowed to anyway. Even if anybody decided to consider it, that's not something that's even allowed. Let's see. If you go to the next page, it shares the process. It's like the flow chart that TDA puts out there. So there would need to be a board resolution, a public hearing, and then we'd appoint a committee to develop a plan. So, many districts, what they use is their DEIC committee, or we can appoint our own committee. We have the flexibility to do that. If you look at the next page, it's just an example of a timeline we would follow if we consider anything after today. We would notify the public starting tomorrow of a public meeting on October the 18th. And then on October the 18th, we could hold, because that's the next board meeting. So that's why we're using these dates. These are not set in stone. Again, that's why I highlighted the word example at the top. It's just something we would look at if we want to consider doing this and where it takes us to. So this timeline takes us all the way to March 22nd. To make sure we have plenty, we want to go this route. And that way the committee would have enough time to research all the possible exemptions if we want to pursue this. So I can read each or no, okay. I mean, it's up here and we'll still have a public meeting, so we're not making any decisions today. It's just giving you the information, right? Really, the only decision would be is if we want to hold a public hearing and go ahead and put a notice out there for tomorrow. So I've also listed the link, and I'm not sure if this link works, but if you Google it, it's the Districts of Innovation at the Texas Education Agency. If this link doesn't work, that shows all the districts in Texas that are DOIs. But I did provide you all a chart also of the local ones. You want to go ahead and pull that one up, Dr. Boston? Yeah, Dr. Trevino, sorry. And here's some of the local districts, and all of them have their district of innovation plans uploaded onto their website. At least most of them do. We were able to find most of them, or we contacted their superintendents and their campuses. And here's some of the common trends. Some of them have more items listed on their DOI, but we just kind of try to keep it simple right now, just to show some of the common ones that they all happen to have in common, or the exemptions. So, you can see almost all of them have a school start date as an exemption. We have Gregory Portland, Alice, Benketti, Santa Gertrudis, George West, Jim Hogg, Corpus Christi, Ricardo, Driscoll, and Robstown. Teacher certification or education certification, educator. I think every one of them had that one. The 90% attendance rule. Some of this, an example of that one might be, it was the student is at a band trip or an ag trip, that would count as their minutes towards their 90% rule. So that's kind of one example of their, an exemption. The minutes of instruction and length of the school day. Now, one of the districts mentioned that they were pursuing for this next year, looking at shack as an exemption. And so that's why I put the word pursuing. And others kind of chimed in when we were in conversations with each other about, okay, we'd like to see what that would look like as well, if we were interested in pursuing a DOI.
So like your school, Dr. Perez, they are considering maybe not pursuing the shack meeting? Is that what that is? Or?
Well, what you
I
do
thought that
is
was mandatory.
you can pursue an exemption
Okay.
of various things. And so I believe this is one of them that is, and I believe it's the new shack requirements. Okay, but I'm not exactly sure. So I'm not sure what they're looking for, but they did say one thing that they are going to pursue is shack.
In your opinion, what are just a couple of the strengths of district renovation, things that you like?
Well, I think the flexible date, the start date of school, because right now we can't start any sooner than August 24th. And well, I'm sorry, not August 24th. I think that was this year, but the last Monday in August, and everybody else has pretty much started. And so if that was something we wanted to consider to do, it would just depend. It really needs to be the committee looking to see what are some things they wish we had. And then start looking at that and see what a committee would consider. You don't even have to, you can just do one exemption if you're just interested in doing one, or you can do several.
Dr. Pettis, I know in our district, we are a district of innovation and we have really benefited from it. Especially the school start date, the certification, the 90-day rule. And so it has really benefited Robstown. And I know Lorena Ceballos was one of the ones that helped put it together for us. So, I mean, that's.
Yeah, would you like to say, because I want to make sure she was here also because of the experience that Ms. Ceballos has had with that.
So we think about the benefits of district of innovation, especially with the school start date, is the earlier you start school, the earlier you can end, which means that we would have more time for summer school to be able to do accelerated time for students, especially now with the requirements of household 45, where we have to have 30 hours of accelerated instruction for content where the students are not mastering STAR. So that would give us that ample time where right now, starting at the fourth Monday of August, takes us all the way to the beginning of June to end the school year. And so starting earlier would give us that extra week in the summer to help students with accelerated instruction. That's one. The other one, of course, it's also offering that intervention and remediation for students that are trying to pass EOC the third time around in the summer. And so that's also a benefit, having that extra time to that's dedicated for acceleration for those students at the high school as well. The other one is that 90% attendance rule. What we find sometimes is that students take a course at the high school and they pass the course, they master the teas. But for whatever reason, they are not present the 90% of the time. So they may be out maybe 15 days, okay? And so for 90% might be, they could only be out 10 days. So because of those 5 days, that automatically, we cannot give them credit for that. So this 90% rule would give us the flexibility to say, okay, take each case by case, right, and consider their reasons. And of course, that would still be the attendance committee making those decisions, but that allows us that flexibility to say, okay, you know what, they mastered the TEKS. No, they were not in attendance 90% of the time, but they have very good, solid reasons. And so the committee can say, we will grant them credit. So those are some good reasons for a DOI.
I would think that the start of school day would also make it easier to plan some professional development and be a little more flexible there throughout the year.
Yes, that's why we have 2 weeks in August where we could actually sprinkle some throughout the year a little more flexibly. Right.
Taking by everything you said, except for the start dates. Because if we start the school a week, say for instance, we start the school a week earlier. And we end it a week earlier, we still have the same amount of summer.
Well, and I mean, for summer school, I mean, so we end the, because EOCs, if you think about EOCs, those are, we retest on that last week in June. And so if we, right now, we're having summer school, I believe it's like the second week in June to, you know, that third week in June. So that gives us about 12 days of remediation. So if we started earlier in August, then we would end maybe, let's say, you know, the last week in May, that would give us an extra week of remediation for those students for ELC.
So it has nothing to do with the start date, it's just we finish earlier.
We would finish earlier, but we would have to start earlier to comply with the 75,600 minutes and the number of students.
The summer school would last until the starting date of school. That's what I thought.
Oh, no, summer school, they're coming on, you know, that month of June.
Well, I think what we need to do is. Like a notification for a public hearing maybe, and then, because we can still talk about all this other stuff later. You know, I don't want to get caught up in doing it right now.
And I just have one more question for you. On this, what is the process page? It says a board resolution, or it can just be done by committee. So that means that the board does not have to be consulted, it's a slow, you just go to committee.
I think at the end of board of.
Right.
No,
And you can give some clarity on that one.
But the process can be started by the committee that has no board members on it.
TEA allows that.
And that's what I was curious about.
But ultimately, the board will have to pass that resolution and the notice will have to go to the commissioner. We also have to send a notice to the commissioner of our intent to vote on it as well, prior to passing it with finality. So there's several steps involved, but how it gets triggered, there's two different mechanisms.
And that's what I was just trying to clarify.
Yes.
And I think most committees do have board members involved, so it's just.
Do you know if Robstown was bringing in people like, you know, the welders to get the welding certified, you know, mechanic certified, just different certifications outside of what we offer? Or did they bring in more people to give more opportunity as far as
Teachers.
excuse me?
Like teachers.
Teachers, yes, to where they can get something, some kind of cert, like, you know, we weld, but are we getting certification in welding to get these kids started to go to the next level?
You're talking about the career tech, yes,
Sure,
they
yes.
can, so you have somebody with so much experience and certified, but they're not a teacher certified.
Right.
Then that allows us to be able to hire them and then give them professional development on classroom management, things like that, to be a teacher with those supports, that this would allow us that flexibility.
Right, because then, you know, what I've seen is you certify these students. And you know, you have the Exxon test, the Valero test, all these different tests on the wells, and they get that certification. They're 18 or 19 years old, making $100,000 a year. So
Definitely, this allows us that flexibility,
Good.
because it's a CTE.
All right, any further questions? If not, thank you, Dr. Pettis. All right, we move now to item number 7, which is new business. Item 7A is adopt instrument for superintendent evaluation. Each of you was sent a copy of the instrument that we used last year, that we will also be using. It's my proposal that we be using this year. None of us were really crazy about it, but at the same time, because there were no changes made to it during the year, it's not fair to the superintendent or to the board or to the public to evaluate a superintendent on criteria that hadn't been placed before. So what we need to do is formally adopt this instrument to be used in the superintendent's evaluation. Is there a motion to that effect?
So,
Motion made by Mr. Garcia,
second,
seconded by Mr. Morales. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Any opposition? Motion carries 7-0. Item number 8, The board's now going to enter into closed session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.071 and 551.074 to deliberate and consider the following. Discussion regarding superintendent evaluation. No action will be taken until we return to open session. I had a clock here somewhere.
5:59.
We are entering closed session at 5:59 PM. And just a note of house cleaning, there is no action scheduled to be taken following the closed session, so it really kind of ends any kind of public interest in the remainder of the meeting. Trying to nicely say, we don't have to sit here. Thank